Vernomatic Productions.
Are you ready?
Live from the Metal Mayhem Studios in Rochester, New York.
We are gold.
And heard around the world by metalheads just like you. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Heavy metal music.
Your weekly dose of metal music, interviews, album reviews, news, and more. Want to be part of the show? Send us a message through our website, metalmayhemroc.com, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Search Metal Mayhem ROC, a proud member of the Pantheon podcast team.
It's getting nice and heavy.
Now, welcome our hosts, John the Vernomatic Verno, and direct from New Jersey, Metal Walt.
Good evening, everybody. Both Walt and I up here at Metal Mayhem ROC are wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving weekend. This is one of my favorite weekends of the year. What do we got? We got friends, we got family, we got food, we got nonstop football. It's awesome. The only thing more awesome is this killer interview that Metal Walt's bringing for you tonight. He caught up with Roger, Earl, and Scott Holt of the legendary band Foghat. Now, the band in next September celebrates 50 years of the Fool for the City album, but this is on the heels of last fall's Sonic Mojo. The band is still going, and they're going just as good as ever. That album, Sonic Mojo, shot up the charts, and it stayed there for a while. Great stuff. Well, Roger comes on, and he shares memories of jamming with Hendrix and the story behind auditioning for Hendrix's band in the 60s. Backstage stories of touring with Kiss and Rush and Triumph in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And let's see, Scott Holt reflects on his blues roots, working with Buddy Guy and fronting Foghat in this new era. You know, in this day and age where the bands, you know, they grow up on years and there's a lot of members coming and going, it's really a testament to the power of Foghat that they're able to keep going and, release these albums that, quite frankly, have a lot of substance behind it. So that's coming up in just a second. It's a great interview. Walt does an excellent job, and Roger and Scott are in fine spirits. So we'll get to that in just a second, but just want to remind you, get up to our website, metalmayhemroc.com. Sign up for the newsletter by filling out the form. We don't give that information to anyone, but it's our way of staying in touch with you. New interview notifications, alerts about YouTube content. We got videos dropping all the time. There's CD reviews. There's concert reviews. Up at the website, we have a brand new merch page with tons of winter gear, hoodies, hats. We have shirts. We have posters. So there's a lot of good stuff up there. While you're up there do us a favor. Check out some past episodes. Last week, we had Mark Storaci from Crocus. He was here talking about his brand new solo album, Crossfire. 2 weeks before that, we had Keith Roth from the Rockstrap podcast. Him and Don Jameson have that. They're up on Pantheon with us. And at the beginning of the month, or mid-October, we had Chris Impallateri, shredder from the New York, New Jersey area. His latest album, War Machine. If you like what we're doing, leave a review, subscribe to the pod. You know, that kind of stuff does help. All right, well, let's get into this. Foghat, Roger Earl, Scott Holt, Metal Walt, all of that coming up right now. I'm the Vernomatic. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
We're joined by Roger, Earl, and Scott Holt, members of classic rock band Foghat, to join us to talk about their upcoming 50th anniversary of one of their classic albums. So still active and vibrant, and now in their 6th decade. They're checking in to give us all things, the scoop on Foghat for 2024 and beyond. So Roger and Scott, welcome to Metal Mayhem ROC.
Hey, man, it's good to be here.
Guys, congratulations. I mean, Sonic Mojo got released last year. It's about a year old, so happy birthday on that.
It's been this last 2 or 3 years have been absolutely amazing. The band's playing great. I'm having the time of my life with everybody. Sonic Mojo was in the top 10 of the Billboard Blues charts for how long, Scott?
I was in the top 10 for weeks and weeks and weeks. We've been on the charts for about 30 weeks.
Yeah, 31 weeks now. It came back in the other week at number 6.
That's right.
I have no idea what that's about. It's on the radio, and we had a first number one Foghat's ever had. So, yeah, it's really cool. It was a lot of fun making this record. we made it over like a 5 or 6 year period because we were interrupted by the COVID nightmare. But it's in fact, when we got back to after COVID and we started listening to some stuff that we'd done, we sit there going, did we do that? It doesn't sound like us. Jamming.
Guys, all kidding aside, Sonic Mojo, it's a great album. Again, it's been out for about a year now, but Scott, this is the first album you fronted. And I got to say, I followed The Last Incarnation with Charlie Hune for years, saw them in concert just about anytime they would come through. You know, he had a much different voice. He was a little bit more, you know, they had that FM friendly arena rock type voice. You come in with more of that soulful, bluesy, raspy kind of voice. So, you know, just how have you been received and how has the new music been received, let's say, by the fans and the press?
Well, I got to be honest, it surprised me because I didn't get a lot of negative feedback or a lot of pushback. You know, when you step into the shoes of somebody that's been in the band for 20 whatever years that Charlie was here, and then he was stepping into the shoes of Dave, who founded, you know, co-founded the band. You're expecting that people are going to go, well, this doesn't sound like the Foghat that I listened to back in 1972, or this doesn't sound like the Foghat that I heard in the 90s. And, you know, it's been positive. I mean, most of the people say nice things about me, you know, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to walk up to you and say you suck to your face, but, you know, you can tell if they like you or not, and they seem to be digging it. And the new material, I'm really gratified by that because a lot of times we get as with the exception of 2 songs, we get as big a reaction from the new stuff as we do from a lot of the catalog material. You're never gonna top the response to Slow Ride, and you're never gonna top the response to I Just Want to Make Love to You, or Fool for the City,
or Stone Blue,
Blue. But you know, I think we've put together a record that kind of holds up the tradition of Foghat and at the very least doesn't embarrass them.
There's no embarrassing. We don't embarrass ourselves. We don't drink as much as we ought to. I'm seeing there again. I've started the embarrassment now. No singing,
Let's hold
Roger.
that, 'cause that's a good track. You know, funny story, guys. I was running an errand about an hour ago and through town, and I had my Sirius XM on, and I always have Ozzy's Boneyard as my default station. And I shit you not, guys, Stone Blue came on at 2:55. So
You're
you know,
absolutely
it's
right,
just
I was with my wife. We were running errands and we were listening to Ozzy's Boneyard, and it came on. You're right, and it was Stone Blue. They said Foghat, and I thought, well, it's going to be Slow Ride, and it was Stone Blue, so I was surprised.
I love that track for so many reasons. Craig McGregor's bass playing on the original track is just fantastic. But Rodney O'Quinn does a great job, you know, filling those big boots. Dave's actually Rod had a lot to do with the arrangement of that song. Dave wrote the song, of course, and also myself and Craig, as far as like when you start playing a song, the bass and drums, you know, we're the ones who sort of set the tempo. But depending on, you know, I guess the cadence of the way the song, Dave's melody is. But actually, Scott and I work real close with songs, don't we? Often with just you and I starting stuff off.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, Roger. You know, I say Foghat's one of those bands.
I'm sorry.
It's not funny. It's Foghat's one of those bands that everybody that likes any form of rock likes Foghat. It's just like it caters to the metal audience, it caters to the classic rock audience, it caters to the blues rock artist. There's nobody that doesn't like Foghat, and I'm a firm believer on that. And I think that's why you'll see, let's say, 3 or 4 songs always on rotation on Sirius XM. It's a good thing.
The Swiss Army knife of rock and roll. That's Foghat.
I like that.
You know, it's where do we draw our music from? It's American music, you know. Started off with the blues, jazz, bebop, rock and roll, country, blues, Motown. I mean, not that we're really a Motown band, but the influences are there from, you know, blues and soul music, folk music. this is the land of music. This is one of the reasons I live here. Scott was born here, so he's well steeped in all that stuff. But, it's people coming from all over the world here over the last couple of 100 years, and they brought their tunes and their rhythms. And this is the land of music. We influence everybody, even to this day. And the reason I love living here is because there is this fantastic musical legacy in this land, and it still dishes it out to this day to the rest of the world. All the new music that's coming out, everybody listens to it, whether you're 5, 10 or 15, the new stuff that's coming out that it influences the world, yeah, I love my adopted home.
Well, thank you for that. And we're neighbors, Roger. I'm in Jersey. You're in Long Island. But Scott, you have an interesting background, and I want to make sure that you explain a little bit is, how you kind of cut your teeth deep in the South in the blues. So give us a little background in your upbringing, like what music was played in your household, and you got your start at a very young age with a blues legend. So take us through a little bit of your upbringing here.
Well, my parents both sang in church, and so I was raised around a lot of gospel. When you're in the South, you go to church or you go to hell, and so we went to church, and so they sang a lot of gospel music and stuff like that. And then my parents were into the typical stuff that parents were into in those days. They liked Elvis and they liked country music or whatever. But I didn't get really, really deep into music until I graduated from high school, until I heard Jimi Hendrix. I was 18, had just gotten out of school, had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I was actually considering joining the Army because I just didn't know what to do. I didn't like anything. I didn't want to do anything. And I heard Jimi Hendrix and I said, that's it. It's exactly what I want to do. I want to be that guy. And thinking that was just a real simple thing to aspire to. And so I just started playing the guitar. And I was, like I said, I just graduated from high school, so I didn't have any responsibilities or anything. I didn't have to have a job or anything. My parents were real understanding. So I was just in my room 10, 12 hours a day playing the guitar. And about a year later, my dad hooked it up where I could meet Buddy Guy, and I went and met with him, and he sort of, took a liking to me. And after about 6 more months, he invited me to join his band. And that was the very first gig I ever had and very first time I'd ever left home. And it all started from there.
Wow, what a story.
I just read it off the back of the cereal box. So
And Scott, you also, talking about Jimi Hendrix, I was reading on your website, you did some work with Billy Cox and Mitch Mitchell. Is that correct?
Yeah, we recorded some stuff together on my second solo record. Billy was living, I guess he still lives in Nashville. And a manager I had at the time played my first record for Billy. And he said, yeah, I'd like to play with this kid. And he said, my friend Mitch is coming to town. So they got Mitch involved. Then they got Eddie Kramer involved to produce it. And then we ended up wanting to use a different rhythm section for some stuff. So I reached out to Chris Layton and Tommy Shannon and Reese Winans. And so they're on that record too. So it was like getting to play with a bunch of my heroes. It was fun.
I don't think I have that record, Scott Holt.
Well, you should do. You should do.
Can I have it, please? I want to hear this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Roger, you also there's something on your let's say your CV that says you unsuccessfully auditioned for the Jimi Hendrix Experience. What does that mean? Does that mean you didn't get the job, but you were good at it, or you were the second choice? Like, what actually does that mean?
I successfully auditioned. That means I turned up and I played with Jimi Hendrix one lunchtime in London when I was about 19 years old, I think 18 or 19 years old. I met Chaz Chandler when I was about 17. I played in a band he was putting together. Didn't go anywhere or do anything, but he had my number and he called me up one day at work. I was a commercial artist in central London, and said, would you like to audition for this guy, Jimi Hendrix? Everybody'd heard of him. He's in all the music papers. And I said, yeah. I turned up one lunchtime in London, just off Piccadilly Circus. There was a jazz club there, midday, and it was raining a bit. And I borrowed my dad's car, put the drums in there. My older brother was working as a commercial artist up there too, Colin, and he helped me bring the drums down. I was about 5 or 6 in line. He started playing, and I was like, I'd never heard anything like it. It was like magic. He was very generous with his time. I've said this many times, but it's the truth. And I played for about 40 minutes with him. It was a beautiful thing. I also got up and jammed once or twice when I came over here with Savoy Brown, a club in Manhattan. I think it was Steve Paul's Scene. I got up and sat in on a song. Everybody was doing that, and Jimmy was playing. And a club out in LA. Everybody was jamming. I think I can't remember who was singing. Yes, I can. I can't remember his name. But anyway, yeah, I played with Jimi Hendrix. He was
stuff, man.
He was beautiful. He came right up to me outside when it was raining and started talking to me and telling me what songs he'd written the night before. Yeah, it was really cool.
What do you remember? What those songs were that he wrote the night before?
No. He just said, I've been doing this, and he was just talking to me. I was like, trying to listen. I can't remember. That was a long time ago. That was a lifetime or two ago, actually. But yeah, he was really cool with everybody down there. Beautiful man.
Metal Mayhem ROC.
You guys have some history together, you and Scott. And I remember being at BB King's in New York City. It was 2016, I believe it was. And it was the Under the Influence album release party. It was an awesome concert. I remember that. And Scott, if my memory serves me right, I think you jumped up on stage and played with the guys. And then Kim Simmons came in and did a couple of guest spots too. So what was your actual, you've history of Roger, before Foghat. So tell us about that history and just what happened here when you came into the band officially.
Well, Roger and I, Foghat was looking for musicians who could be on standby for the musicians that were in the band. Like if Charlie couldn't make a gig, they wanted somebody that could step in and so the show could still go on. And we have a mutual friend that introduced me and Roger, or suggested me to Roger. Roger called me up and asked me if I was interested and gave me a list of songs to learn. And then they flew me down to their studio in Florida, and I got with Roger and Craig and Brian, and we played Foghat songs for a few days and just hit it off. Roger and I just click. I don't know what it is. We get along really well. I mean, it's not like it's difficult to like him. I'm not saying it like that. It's like, I don't know why, but we just, we have a lot of the same kind of interests. We like a lot of the same kind of music. We both have sort of a Monty Python-esque sense of humor, so we can see the funny stuff in life, and we both love music. We both love making music, and that's. For me personally, God put me here to do this. He put me here to play music. And so every day I'm grateful that I get the opportunity, and I try to take advantage of it. And I feel like on some level, Roger's kind of got the same sensibility. We're here to do music. Let's make music, I have a feeling if Roger wasn't doing music, he'd fish, though. So we got to be careful and keep drumsticks in his hands.
Well, the truth is I'm not that good a fisherman. We can't do that. And I didn't want to be a commercial artist for the rest of my life, drawing black and white straight lines and giving things to printers. That's all changed anyway. Now, I grew up in a house where music was playing all the time. My father played piano just at local pubs and stuff like that. That wasn't his day job. He worked at Aston Martin's he was a panel fitter. But there was always music in the house. My older brother, Colin, bought Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard records, and Johnny Cash records. And I'm like 10, 12 years old and I'm singing Johnny Cash songs. My voice wasn't very deep, but I loved the music. And I went to see Jerry Lee Lewis when I was 12. My father took me to a theatre in southwest London, and that was it. I had great parents. We weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination. Music was always on in the house. Radio, records. We had a reel-to-reel. There was always music in the house. Mum and Dad. Dad could sing. Mum sang. Well, they came from the East End of London, so if anybody's familiar with that, any excuse to have what they would call a sing song, there will be music, and I grew up with that, and it's in the blood.
So, guys, on Sonic Mojo, I wanted to get into some of the tracks because I'm going to share you some of my favorites, and I want to ask you about them too. But, Roger, obviously you go back to the Savoy Brown days, and Kim Simmons has his footprint on 3 of the tracks on the album. She's a little bit of everything, Driving On, and then my favorite, Time Slips Away. I love that song because it's kind of chill. Scott, you really shine on that one, but kind of has a bit of an introspective feel, like looking back. So I know it's got to be hard for you guys because, he passed before the album came out. I don't know how far along the songs were completed, but how did it all come together? And, how does it make you feel like completing, let's say, this final work of his?
Well, after we left the band in 71, Kim and I reconnected around 76, and we kept in touch since then. But Kim played on a previous studio album, as did Scott, Under the Influence. And Kim played on 2 or 3 tracks, and Scott played on 3 or 4 tracks, co-wrote some of them. And we were finishing the mixing down in Nashville with our producer, Tom Hambridge. He's really cool too. And Kim came out to me and said, "Hey, Rog, I'd really like to write some songs for Foghat." And I said, "That'd be great, but you have to play on them." Unfortunately, Kim passed before we started recording, but he sent me 4 demos. It was just, I think it was like a click track, his guitar and vocals. And we took them and ran with them. We kept a 4th one back. Probably we'll put that on the next album. But they were great songs. I mean, Scott immediately started working with them, and Scott and I played around with different tempos and feels to the songs. It was actually, I know I can honestly say it was joyous, wasn't it? Playing those tunes.
Yeah, it really was. It was. Especially, of course, you knew Kim way longer than I did, but there was a responsibility to take care of those songs. This was some of the last work that Kim did, and he was trusting us with them, not to screw them up. And you mentioned "Time Slips Away" is a good example of a song that was. I can remember to this day the day we did the vocal on it, and it was just me and Brian in the studio, and it was the afternoon and the sun was coming through, and it was just a real magical kind of time to put that song together. So I'm grateful to have been a part of it. Really am.
Yeah, and I remember doing the tracks when you and I were working out the arrangement. I mean, I knew the drums had to be real lean. Everything had to be it was all about the song.
Yeah. No, it was, like Roger was saying earlier, most of the time, the way we work is he and I kind of get together and sort of frame it all out. And then we bring the other guys in and we go, okay, this is how the song goes.
Well, yeah, the tracks, "Song for the Life" and then "Promised Land." Those are two other ones I wanted to comment on because, again, good tracks. I mean, again, more of that heartfelt kind of feeling on them, a little more mellow and chill. But what I really liked on "Song for the Life" is the video, right, where you show your appreciation and love for, let's say, your family and friends and your fans, which is a nice touch. And then on "Promised Land," the Chuck Berry song, one of the things you hear constantly is guys like me that are interviewing artists like you hear is, oh, the 2 hours we play on stage is the best 2 hours, but the rest of the 22 hours and all the time on the road is hell. But you could fool me, guys, from that video. I mean, you're showing pictures of you guys all over the place. Your smiles on your face. You're having dinner. You're having drinks. You're visiting places. You're having a good time. And I just, as a fan of yours, it was just really cool to watch those two videos, listen to those songs. And it felt like we got a peek into who you guys are as a band and as people. And it looks like you guys are a really solid unit.
It's true. I mean, I have a theory that if you're blessed and lucky enough to get a job like this, you give up your right to complain about anything. You should be happy and grateful for it all. And the way we operate, the way we are on the road, when we have nights off, we all end up in the same restaurant having dinner together. We all end up in the lobby hanging out, until the front desk asks us to leave, and because we like each other. We all get along. We all enjoy being around each other. And there's never, I'm sure Roger's been in situations, and I have too, where the band gets to the hotel and everybody goes their separate ways and you don't see anybody till showtime. And that's definitely not this band. I mean, we it's hard for us to do quick sound checks because we like to play. So, we get the sound check and we just start jamming stuff. And it's almost like they have to separate us. It's hard. This is a real rare interview with me and Raj, because a lot of times they won't let more than one of us at a time go because we get to
talk, right?
Yeah. And the next thing you know, that the interviewer's like, well, but if I could just ask.
Actually, you mentioned one song, "Song for Life." That Rodney J. Crowell wrote that. And but I didn't. The first time I heard it was a number of years ago. My girlfriend at the time, I think, we were driving down to Nashville to visit some friends. This is, 20 years ago, might know more than that, maybe. And all of a sudden, this song comes on the radio. I don't drink as much as I ought. And then it goes, bong, it's gone. And I go, what a great line. Impressed me anyway. And I spent the next 10 years or so trying to find out whose song that was. Well, it was Rodney Crowell did that. And I found his song, and Scott was obviously familiar with Rodney. And also I was as well, because we'd done one of his songs before on a previous Foghat album. But we listened to the song, and it's like this, country, like, 3-4 times really slow waltzing, because it's a beautiful song. And it's like, now what are we going to do with this? Because you got to be careful. I mean, Rodney is like, I think certainly he's a great, great songwriter. He's written so many great songs that other people have done. So you want to at least try and put our stamp on it and not, fuck it up.
You guys did a great job at that.
What did we do? What did we do, Scott?
We didn't fuck it up. We
didn't fuck it up.
We tried to, the dumbest thing would be to try to do something. Of course, it wouldn't have worked anyway, because that song, the way Rodney recorded it, was like a country waltz, and that wouldn't have made any sense on a Foghat record. So you got to do something that makes it Foghat, but you can't get too clever with it, because then you mess the song up. You destroy the beauty of the song. And I don't know. I think we did our job.
Yeah, we did. You and I sat down and we kept going over it until we found. I was listening to your cadence when you were singing once. We got all the lyrics in front of you, and you kept. And then I sort of put some drums, and you said that's working, and then we put to it. Then we called the guys in from the bar and said,
"Here's how it goes."
How it goes.
about a song like I Don't Appreciate You? Because that's the outlier. That's kind of the run to the litter, I used to say, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a catchy pop punk song. I was
Right.
like shocked. I was like, wait, where's this one? This is track 2? That one doesn't fit in with anything, but a good job. I love it.
That was Roger's suggestion. He had this song idea, this song lyric. There was somebody in his life that had offended him, and I'm not telling the story. I'm just telling that part of it. And this person that offended him, he wanted to write a song about him, and I said, okay. He goes, it's called "I Don't Appreciate You," which I thought was just the most pleasant, nicest way to tell somebody that you didn't like them or whatever. And so I said, okay. I said, well, let's figure this out. And then I didn't know the person personally that he didn't like or was offended by. So I had to figure out somebody that I could think of that offends me. And so we kind of took those two people and mashed them together and made it about, any sort of unpleasant, narcissistic person that you might come across in your daily life.
Actually, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stand up. It was written by our ex-manager we used to be friends right at the beginning for a long time. But I had to say something, because you have to find a way in this world when you find somebody offensive that you've known and worked with, and you can't keep hate, because that just tears you apart and drags you down. You have to put it into words. You have to find some way to forgive them and find forgiveness, to let yourself stop it and put it in the place that it is and carry on with your life. And that's where it started. And the funny thing was, it was one take. And at the time, I'd torn my left shoulder. I didn't have a muscle here. And it was, and I had it all taped up like with this athletic tape. And we knew how it was going to go. And I just started playing, and Scott joined in, and everybody else did. And it was one take, wasn't it?
It was one take.
I don't appreciate you. I don't appreciate the way you walk. I don't appreciate the way you talk. Come on, say some lyrics.
Live on the air.
I was impressed on that song, though, that Rod, like you said, his left shoulder was messed up, and he was in a lot of pain. And if you listen to that song, the drum fills, like the first time through, there's like one drum fill. The second time through, it's 2. The third time through, it's like 4. It just keeps building and building. It's like, good Lord, his arm's going to fall off. But, but we got through it, though. And he sounds, he sounded amazing on it.
And I said to Brian and Scott, I said, I don't know, I think I ought to do that. And they said, no, this is great.
No.
And, slightly punky kind of feel. And I also think Scott had been listening to, because he owns a record store, he'd been listening to the Sex Pistols and some,
yeah.
I think that influenced some of his lyrics, though he probably kept it a little bit more polite than the Pistols.
It was a very elegant presented FU. So I was trying to be, very elegant with the rest of the lyrics and not get into the gutter.
No, I don't want to get gutter. There's nasty stuff down there.
No.
Well, the music's very uplifting too. It's a happy song. The music is happy, so it conveys the message off, but in a nice way.
There you go.
So, guys, the other song I wanted to mention is "Black Days and Blue Nights," and this one is dedicated to Rod Price, of course. I found the lyric interesting. The slide has lost its mojo, and the strings have turned to rust. But before you talk about this song, I want to put, let's say, maybe a somewhat uncomfortable topic on the table, right? About a year ago, Metal Mayhem ROC, we did a whole episode called Band or Brand, where we took a look at bands through the history that have, let's say, members have changed, guys have come and gone. And as you know, there can be a lot of criticism out there to fans and even the press that says, oh, guys, come on, you can't call your band that anymore because there's no original members left, or there's only one original member. Personally, and I say this with all sincerity, I don't buy into that, because I think sometimes it's like a sports team, right? Like a sports team, the colors and the logo on the front of the jersey always remain the same, but the names and the numbers on the back change, right? But set the record straight. What's your philosophy on that?
Well, I'm still here. I was there at the beginning. I never left. Other members left the band. Dave even left the band for like 4 or 5 years. He went back to England. I never did. I was part of this band at the beginning. The good Lord hasn't seen fit to take me just yet. Thank you. If you had nothing to do with it, thank you anyway. It's like, I love the sort of music this band has played. We've had like 17 or 18 studio albums, countless live records or CDs. This band's always been about playing live right from the beginning. We love to play live. That's our juice. We talk about on the road. We talk about, we get paid for sitting in planes, sitting in trains, sitting in cars, sitting in hotel rooms, sitting at gigs. Hurry up and wait. But that hour and a half we get to play, that's the magic. Yeah. That's the magic when you get to entertain. And I still get chills before I go on stage. You got like, whether it's 500 or 5,000 people out there, it's like, it's a thrill. And I know how fortunate I am to be doing this and playing with such great musicians and friends. They're there for me and I'm there for them. It's really a cool way to live.
Roger, and a guy like Brian, right, your guitar player, I mean, he's been with the band, 20, 25 years or more? I mean, he's been in the band longer than Rod Price was in the band, right?
Yeah, he also played with Rod. He also played with Lonesome Dave and Lonesome Dave's band. So Brian, I refer to as the bright one, because without him, we wouldn't be able to make records. He's our producer, chief engineer. I do most of the cooking. Brian is one of the most genuine and decent people I've ever met in my life. He's also an incredible musician, especially his slide and lead playing, everything that he does. He takes it seriously, and it would be, he's a huge part of this band. And like I said, he played with Lonesome Dave, he played with Rob Price as well in the same band. So he got first-hand knowledge of what he had to do. He had to learn a few chops.
Back to the track itself. I mean, what inspired you guys to say, okay, we're gonna make a song and a video that's got all these great images of Rod Price? Like, what brought that on? I mean, it's a cool track. Music is great. Lots of slide on there. Was that like your homage to Rod?
Well, I think the song idea came from Roger and Linda to start with. I think they wanted to write a song about Rod, and they both wrote up a lot of the lyrics. And then, the rest of us got a hold of it, and we kind of worked around it and try to make it, do something that would make sense to all of us. And then of course, Linda, she does all the video stuff. So the video was all her. And that's, everybody in the organization just does their thing,
Also, when Rod left the band in 81, Linda managed him for a couple of years. Linda was good friends with Rod as well as being his manager. And I was too. Rob was a very complicated young man. When he first joined the band, it was brilliant, especially for myself and Dave. He fit right in. His playing was... it was very intense, his playing. We auditioned for a couple of nights in southwest London in a pub, a bunch of guitar players, and all of them were pretty good, but Rod was the one. As soon as I heard him playing, we played a couple of songs together, just jamming. And I looked at Dave and he went, and I said to Rod, we'll go and have a drink. And that was it. But Rod was fantastic, especially, but up until and after the Stone Blue, we did the Stone Blue tour. It was very hard for him to, that was a tough tour. We were playing probably 7 nights a week, actually. The band was kind of okay because we had a Learjet. The crew was sort of struggling a little bit, but it was hard for Rod to tour all the time. Myself and Lonesome Dave, that was, we loved to do it. And I think he just got a little tired of being on the road. I think he wanted to go home. I think he wanted more time off. And I loved the man. He was absolutely brilliant, and he was a huge part of this band. And it seemed important to all of us that we do something to recognize him.
I appreciate you sharing that, Roger. So, guys, this is awesome stuff on Sonic Mojo. Before we get into your anniversary of Fool for the City, I wanted to talk about your touring, right? You guys do a lot of dates a year, but Roger, kind of a funny story the other day. I was driving in the car with my 87-year-old father, who was a retired accordion player, played professionally for many, many years. And I had the Sonic Mojo album out, and I think the song was Wish I'd Been There. And he says, oh, listen to this. And he's breaking apart the song. He doesn't know you guys. He's breaking apart the song and that kind of thing. And I was telling him we were going to be doing this interview, and he says, I want you to ask Roger, how does he stay in shape at his age? How does he keep drumming at 78, 79, whatever you are? What's your secret to your health?
I married a younger woman. No, I play drums. There is a physical aspect to it. I practice pretty much every day, one way or another. I stretch, I work out with light weights and stretch, and, walk. Ride my bike on occasion. It's power of music. I've also been fortunate. The doctors that have repaired me, I have damaged myself once or twice. 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm running out of fingers. So I've been fortunate. I heal well, and I'm grateful to be. I love what I do. I love playing drums. I'm always banging on something and tapping on stuff, annoying somebody still. No, I try to stay healthy. I have to. You can't be the drummer in a rock and roll band and not be able to sort of make it that way, make it feel that way. And so I stay fit, and it helps.
How many shows a year do you guys do? Because it seems like you're always circling the States. And I mean, for you, Scotty, I mean, coming in and, doing these big tours. And it was funny. I wanted to ask you, back to the song Wish I'd Been There. You guys are talking about Hank Williams coming to town. And it made me think, I'm 54. I don't know how old you are, but did you get a chance to see Foghat back in the day when you were a teenager in your 20s?
No, I never got to see him live. That was I know you guys played Nashville. I know I've seen posters where you played like Municipal Auditorium or something. Yeah.
In the rounds, there was a thing in the round there. We played that. We should play them more often.
Why don't we? Because my guest list would be 6 miles long is why we do. Every family member in the woods would come out.
I don't know why. The song, actually, that song was written by my older brother, Colin Earl.
Yeah.
He was a piano player in a band called Mungo Jerry. In the summertime, da-da-da-da-da. And the singer, and Ray Dorset was the singer in the first band I was in when I was 16, 17 years old. Colin sent me the lyrics, and I just loved them, and I showed them to Scott, and he said, yeah, I can do something with this. And again, Scott and I went to town on it, and then we called the others and said, I think we got something here. This is
how it goes.
But yeah, I became a Hank Williams. I mean, he wrote so many great songs. A good friend of mine, George Thorogood, who I'm the official maraca player, but I only play with him about 2 or 3 times a year, loves him. And there's just so many great songs that he's written. And my brother, I thought, did a great job in writing a tribute and how people feel about that. You never forget how to be a fan. I'm a fan. Scott's a fan. Right. Everybody else in the band, we're fans. That's why you get into music in the first place, because you love music or you love certain songs, and then you go, I want to know how to do that. And Hank Williams did that for my brother and a number of people. He wrote these fantastic songs at a time when I think the world was having some struggles, and he did it. He did it for a lot of people, and I thought it was a really cool song that my brother wrote.
Yeah.
How many of the new tracks do you get into the live show? And are you going to be touring into 2025? Because there's a date in Jersey in January, so I'm excited for that one. Not far from where I live, but are you going to take it out there on the road next year too?
Yeah.
Actually, I think we've already got like 15, maybe more songs already booked for next year, maybe even 20. I know there's 3 in January. I'm gonna roll till I'm old and rock till I drop. Hold on a second.
So, Roger, the 50th anniversary of Fool for the City is going to be in 2025. So just astonishing numbers. It's a platinum album, sold over 1 million copies in the U.S. alone. I mean, I want you to talk about the album cover because, I don't know how many times you've probably been asked this question, but what are you doing out there? You're in the middle of New York City fishing into a manhole. Like, take us through that day. How does that moment happen? And what's the rest of the band doing? And what's going on in the streets around you?
The rest of the band was saying, what the fuck are we doing here? Actually, the idea came from Nick Jameson, who was our producer on that album and bass player, guitar player, piano player, and played sax on one of the songs, but that didn't come out. All right, now I've got that out of the way. It was Nick Jameson's suggestion because we were in Sharon, Vermont, on top of a mountain, Suntreader Studios. In fact, Nick and I went to find that we had packed some drums and guitars and keyboards in a station wagon and drove to a bunch of studios to see what we liked. Big room, wooden walls, and lovely noise. So Nick, once we'd got the basic tracks down, they would say, well, you can go now, Rog, unless I would hang around, like make tea and biscuits and sandwiches for everybody. But what I would do is go fishing in Vermont, really good trout fishing out there. And an occasional also Atlantic salmon comes up some of the rivers, which is rare. I caught one. Anyway, so I was an avid fisherman, and it was Nick's idea. Well, let's do this. And we went into New York City early one Sunday morning. Actually, I don't think I'd had much sleep, but we get in there. Our manager lifts up the grill. He had a crowbar, and we sat and stood around and started taking pictures. A couple of New York's finest come rolling along in their cruiser, and they whined down their window. This is back in 1975. And they go, hey, you got a license? We go, oh, shit. You got a fishing license? What are you guys doing? They get out of the car and come over. And they were really cool, actually. They made sure the traffic didn't sort of hurt us, and it didn't sort of drop down the manhole. New York cops, they're the best. They worry about sort of murder and mayhem, not somebody fishing down a manhole. It was Nick Jameson's idea. He had lots of really good ideas on that record. In fact, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as successful as it was if it wasn't for Nick Jameson producing it and playing on it.
And like Slow Ride, I think about it. I mean, obviously we've all heard this song 18 million times, but I can't even imagine how many movies, TV shows, commercials this has been in. I mean, my mind always goes to the movie Dazed and Confused because I love that movie. And that whole segment where they play Slow Ride is just, it's perfect because the kids are having fun or they're, pledging their sororities and doing whatever. There's hazing going on or drinking beer in the back of a pickup truck. But like, Roger, for you, like that song's like, it's its own beast. It's its own like entity for you. Correct?
Yeah, it's how does it go? Be very, very good to me. Be very, very good to us. Magic of music. It was, though Dave wrote the song, but it was actually arranged by myself, Nick, and Rod. All of us had a hand in it. The breaks. Dave just had, the lyrics, but Foghat was always like that. It was always a band thing when it came to arranging songs. It was never like, even if one person got the credit for writing it, it was always a band effort, as it is today. Everybody sort of has their say in putting stuff together. Yeah, it's really cool. We got one. We got a giant. And every night it's fun to play it. I know Scott has a ball playing it. I do. Everybody does. And of course, we have a couple of them now because Brian played guitar with Wild Cherry, 1975, 76. Played that funky music, White Boy. He played that riff.
He wrote that riff.
That's riff. Unbelievable.
So we stick that in there now.
Yeah, you guys are doing the full track because I remember in the Charlie years, you used to dabble with a little bit of like, play 10 chords of it and then move on. But last time I saw you guys played the whole song, which was cool.
Yes, people like to dance.
Yes.
People come and have a good time at a Foghat concert. There's no sort of misery going on, though. We do play some slow blues songs, you get the emotions. But yeah, it's fun.
Well, what will you do? Roger, any special plans for the anniversary merchandising? Maybe, play the album complete next year on tour, something like that?
I don't think we're going to play the album complete because we like playing other songs. But we do, 1, 2, 3 songs off of it, 4 songs off of the album. That's, like I said earlier, we got 17 or 18 studio albums to pick from, and every year we try to move it around a little bit, put some other songs in we haven't played that year. Our manager Linda asked some of the fan club folks for them to write out a wish list of what they want to hear from Foghat on the road. So we January, February we'll be changing the set around a little bit, but there are certain songs we will play until the day we depart.
Of course. So, guys, this has been excellent. Roger, when I talked to you and Linda at the bitter end at the Kuhns Clark show about a month ago, and when we were planning on getting you on the show, you said to me, I said, hey, I want to hear all about your stories. And you said, I got lots of stories if I can remember them all. But I had a different take on it today. I want to end this interview with having some fun. So I did a little research, and knowing that I live in Jersey, you live in New York, I was taking a look at, like, let's say your concert history, the Foghat concert history through the years, and some amazing events pop up. I mean, I was either not born or a little kid or whatever, but I wanted to see if you had any memories of playing with some of these bands. But maybe the first question is, do you have any idea how many concerts Foghat has played in your 50 plus years? Has anybody actually recorded that? Like to say it's X thousand shows? What's the number?
You'd have to Google that. I have no fucking idea. Actually, Jason Peverett, Dave's son, might have some idea. He's the keeper of the keys on that one. Really cool kid as well. I say kid, he's grown up now, but I've known him since he was born. I don't know. Hundreds of thousands. And we're going to keep doing it. But somebody somewhere will do it. And let me just Google that. No, I'm not going to waste time on that.
Concertarchives.org is the site I found a lot of this stuff. But Roger, just going to throw some random shows at you. See if you remember any of these. So let's say 1974, the Schaefer Music Festival in Central Park, New York with Bad Company.
I was going to say Bad Company, I was wearing a white pant tracksuit, top and bottom. Bad Co are one of my favorite bands. Their records, the band, Paul Rodgers is probably one of the best blues rock and roll singers ever. Simon Kirk, I'm friends with Simon, great drummer, plays for the song and plays great. Their original bass player, their original guitar player, whoa. Paul Kossoff and the second guitar. How can you have two guitar players that good? We do as well. No. Bad Co, one of my favorite bands. Yes, I remember that day well.
Excellent. And being a Long Island guy, I noticed you guys did a lot of shows at Nassau Coliseum, but maybe more in what I call, let's say, playing with some of the more traditional metal bands. I mean, you toured with Triumph in 1983. I mean, a whole U.S. tour. You did a lot of touring with Blue Oyster Cult in the 80s, but I mean, even shows with Rush and Montrose in my neck of the woods. In Passaic, New Jersey, there was a place called the Capitol Theater that was legendary. And just to know that Foghat, Montrose, and Rush played in one night in 1976 just blows my mind.
Let's see. Where do I start with? Ronnie Montrose. We became good friends. We're still good friends with his wife. I actually played. They were a great band. A quick story. Sammy Hagar, of course, was a singer. I love Sammy. I see him from time to time, and I've been to see the band recently. I saw him just the other day in the airport, and I shouted out, "Sammy!" And Linda said to me, "Don't shout. Everybody will start grabbing him." Anyway, Sammy and their drummer and the bass player would often come into our room because they were opening up for Foghat. And I remember one time Ronnie's walking past our dressing room, and he goes, and all his band are in there, you know, eating and like having our champagne, which is fine. And he comes in and he talked to Rod for a while. What a fantastic band that was, Montrose. Wow, that first band. I mean, they would kick our ass every night. And I got to meet Ronnie a number of times, and fantastic band. Their drummer, the bass player. I mean, they were just great band. Let's see. Who's the other one?
Our Canadian friends, Rush and Triumph. I mean, you would never see a bill like that in 2024, but how cool is that in the 70s that you guys were paired up together?
Triumph was the last tour we did with, we finished at the end of 93, 94. And then Dave left after that. But Triumph, they were fantastic. They were a great band. But let's move back one step to the other Canadian band. I played with them and it wasn't until I actually saw them in Nassau Coliseum. The drummer, of course, was just absolutely incredible. And I was backstage and like sharing some sushi with them and stuff like that. And then I went out front when they came on, because I wasn't playing that night. I was a guest there. And it was what was so cool. The drummer held the whole audience in the palm of his hand. He would do a roll, and all the hands in the audience, what was there, 8, 9, 10,000 people there, they would all be doing the same thing. When a drummer can lead an audience and lead a band, that was they were incredible. And he, as a drummer, was an absolute master. Really nice guy too, very quiet. But I met him a couple of times. He was very quiet, but absolutely brilliant. He was the main songwriter, and he played stuff that us mere mortals can only think about. Yeah.
Roger, what was it like back then, though? Because the bills were very different. And I saw even some other crazier lineups. There was a show I noticed on one of the websites, like you played in Chicago with Rush and the Tubes and Southside Johnny and, Kool and the Gang at another show. Like, was that just how it was back then, where promoters just jammed all kinds of different genres of rock on to a bill and that was it? Because that's something I could, being a younger fan, you could never grasp that right now.
What was really cool, Bill Graham, he was the one who started that. When I first came here in '69 with Savoy Brown, and also afterwards when, we came over as Foghat, Bill Graham would do that. He was the one who started that, as far as I can recall. He would have the Voices of Harlem, Savoy Brown, 2 or 3 other bands. It was all about the music. Bill Graham was an absolute genius and brilliant in so many ways, because it was about music. It wasn't about, I only like this, putting everybody in little slots. You belong here. You can't play outside this sandbox. Bill Graham brought people together. He brought musicians together. He brought music together. And that was you're right. It might be difficult today to do that, but back then, in the late 60s, 70s, early 70s, it was a magic time for music that you could do that. I mean, we did a show with Buddy Rich's band. I mean, it was there's a huge list of musicians and music and types of music, and he would put them all together. I think we have to sort of give him the medal for that. He was a king. Bill Graham was an absolute king when it came to putting music together. You know what? And it's a story. 1972 or 3, somewhere around there. We were playing out on the West Coast at the Fillmore. Bill Graham comes into our dressing room. We were opening up, I think, for Frank Zappa. So we were playing there 2 nights, a Friday and a Saturday. Bill comes into our dressing room and says, everybody okay? You need anything? I said, no, we're good. And we shook hands and stuff. And he just hung out for a minute. And then he went. And there's a quote from him. He said, and we played the Friday night, Zappa was working with his band for about 2 hours at sound check. We didn't get a sound check. We got up and played on Friday night, and we didn't really work. I mean, we got polite claps. Nobody sort of said anything. Then we went back to our hotel room. I think we got drunk, but we were all together and said, we have to get our shit together tomorrow. Saturday night, it was a different matter. We did 3 encores. But Bill Graham was quoted as saying, I think Foghat like to play more than they like to breathe. But I'm saying, okay, because he saw that joy that we have in playing. And opening up for Frank Zappa, it was like, and Frank was like brilliant. And his band it was like, but yeah, we got 3 encores on the second night. That's what I remember.
Excellent. What about playing with Kiss? There's dates you did in 1974 where Kiss just started their career. That was the first album. And then the other one I thought was surprising was in 1978 doing a string of shows in Texas with Judas Priest. I mean, you can't talk to, like, that's metal all the way. Any recollections of that, Roger?
Yes, I remember playing with Kiss because they opened up for us. And the stage was a fucking mess afterwards, but they went down. People fucking loved them. And I believe my brother at the time, Colin, was working as our road manager. And he spent some time afterwards with one of the bass player. and the bass player was talking to him, and Colin relayed some of the stories. I don't need to repeat those, but yeah, Kiss were they were like just one of those. It was magic, right? In fact, I have a couple of good friends that are just Kiss fanatics. It's like if you say the word, they start talking about stuff, and then they'll bring out their pictures. And would you like to come to my home? I have a room that's just a Kiss room. Everything that I bought with Kiss, and I bought that. Yeah, magic of music, isn't it? Kiss.
But how about Judas Priest? Do you remember, getting the leather out there at Rob Halford in Texas?
I think the singer said something about we wear leather off stage and Foghat doesn't wear them off stage, something like that. They were terrific. Judas Priest were a great band, great fucking drummer. No, they're really good, and I've met them all individually a number of times over the years. Good guys. I mean, in fact, I saw them about 7 or 8 years ago. They were over here they were playing with a band called Saxon. And I was in Michigan, in Detroit, one of my favorite towns. And Saxon, what a great band. They were fantastic. And Judas Priest were like, they were terrific. I mean, he'd come out there and like have a different outfit on every song. But fantastic band, great players, really great, fantastic drummer.
We're friends with the Saxon guys at Metal Mayhem ROC, and when they came through here in the spring, they invited us not just to see the show, but onto the tour bus. So we hung for a couple hours drinking some beers with Biff Byford. Man, that was like holding court. It was an amazing memory I'll never forget.
Great band.
So, guys, this has been a fantastic hour together. Scotty, before you mentioned, did you say you have a record shop in Nashville?
Yeah. Well, it's actually in Columbia, Tennessee, just south of Nashville. But it's called Variety Records, and
okay,
yeah, it's a cool little spot.
Tell us all about it. We'll make sure we put it on the website.
It's just a local record store. It's been there since 1959, I think. It was originally Ernest Tubb Records #2. And then a lady bought it, changed the name to Variety Records back in the early 60s. And a partner of mine and I bought it back in 2016, I think, or 2017, something like that. So we've had it for a while.
It's great, isn't it?
It is.
Vinyl.
It's the only way to go. It's the only way to fly.
And Roger, how about the Foghat wine? You invested in some Foghat wine. Give us a little plug on that.
Of course, I've invested in it greatly. It's really, really good. Scott will tell you. I mean, the Pinot.
Yeah, the Pinot is great. I like the Cab. Cab is good.
The Cab is really good. We have a 2012 Cab. Well, actually, I've only got like half a dozen cases left. The Pinot, we have a bit more than that. I have about 150 cases left. In fact, I was just out on the West Coast and I signed 300 or 400 bottles. And we also have a 2014 Chardonnay that's really held up really good. We haven't made any more wine because the COVID nightmare put a stop to everything. They've had some horrendous fires out there. All our wine we get from and the grapes or the fruit comes from the central coast of California. In fact, I talked to our winemaker, Steve Rasmussen, when we were out there at length. And I talk to him regularly, but we just haven't had time to make more wine. What's really cool about it, I think, for me anyway, wine is... it's like something you can share with people. Sit down, have a glass of wine, a bottle of wine, whatever. And we get a chance to like send them out at Christmas when we're allowed to people, instead of like saying, I don't know, another jumper with Santa Claus on it. No, send a bottle of wine to somebody. That part I really enjoy. Also, we've actually picked a number of we picked our 2007 vintage. We picked our 2009 and 2010 and 2010, we picked those grapes and actually made them. But I was involved in punching down, picking them. We were working. It's hard work, especially the folks that have to pick the grapes, which I got involved in for about a week. I've never worked that hard in my life. And the people that do it are just fantastic. And the folks that actually make the wine, pick it, they're one of the things I got from it, and I say this regularly, but it's the truth. Something goes right with the wine, they talk to each other, they let each other know. If there's some kind of issue, they talk about that. If there's some kind of blight, and generous to a fault. And I found that very refreshing in business. Winemakers. I'm not really a winemaker. I'm learning. I'm really good at this, though.
I'll give you a little tip. My father, who I mentioned earlier, his father is Italian-American immigrant, came in through Ellis Island. He used to make the Italian table wine in the house. He died in 1978, but about 15 years ago, we resurrected his recipe. And now we take my grandfather's recipe to a winemaking facility in northern New Jersey, and we're using California grapes, and we're on our year 15 now. It's a family affair. We have fun with it. We crush the grapes. We press them. One of my best friends does all the artwork. We refer back to the village of Italy that my grandfather came from, and it's just a good time. And when I see you guys in Jersey in January, I'll bring you guys a couple bottles.
I would look for one other quick one. My father actually used to make wine. We lived in Helms. I was in a small garden, a detached house, a semi-detached house, but it was just a garage. Anyway, where I grew up in Southwest London, Hounslow, and Dad planted grapes, and so we had all these grapes. Dad decided he was going to be a winemaker, and did. It's pretty ferocious. I think the alcohol content was probably up around anywhere between 18 and 20 odd percent. A couple of times they would explode. I was there one time and one of the bottles exploded. My mum was saying, "No, this will never do." But wine has been in the family too. I love my dad and my mum. I had great parents.
That's good. Winemaking with Foghat, guys. Guys, this has been fantastic. Where can we find all about the band? What's the socials of Foghat? Merchandise, tour dates? Where can we find everything about what's going on?
Foghat.com.
And what else?
We're on all the social media stuff: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok.
TikTok.
Jason
Foghat's on TikTok. Amazing.
Yeah.
Jason, Lonesome Dave's son, Jason Peverett, he's involved with us on that stuff, and he listens to our records. We let him listen to them when we're making stuff and get his approval. Thank you, Jason. I'm Uncle Roger.
Excellent. Just a reminder, get up to our website, metalmayhemroc.com, and join our community by signing up for our email newsletter, as this is the best way to stay connected on new podcast episodes. Check us out on our YouTube channel as we do CD and concert reviews, as well as join us on Monday nights on our radio show at metaldevastationradio.com. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. So today, for my guests, Roger Earl and Scott Holt of Foghat, I'm Metal Walt, and this has been Metal Mayhem ROC.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.